What's up guys, it's Ivan, and today I am going to read to you a successful statement of purpose for the Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at Columbia University's Teachers College. Before we get into the statement of purpose, I do want to remind you that I offer a statement of purpose review service on the freelance platform called Fiverr, which is linked down below. With that service, I will provide constructive feedback to you. That way you can write a competitive statement of purpose for your submission of graduate school applications. I look forward to working with you. This statement of purpose is actually one of my clients from last year who also got into University of Pennsylvania's Masters of Education program. Throughout the reading of the statement of purpose, I will provide commentary that will help you construct a competitive statement of purpose based on this example. My career goal is to design and teach psychoeducational curricula based on emotional and cognitive development in order for students to learn, grow, and expand in emotional health, emotional literacy, and relational wellness. Specifically, through my nonprofit organization Because I Matter, BIM, I plan to teach experiential curricula to emerging adults ages 17 to 27 who have experienced relational childhood trauma, physical and/or emotional abandonment, and the negative effects of systemic foster care. Subsequently, my plan is to expand into secondary education by designing an adaptable version of BIM's social emotional curriculum for grades 6 through 12 to be implemented as a health course requirement. The Master of Education in Curriculum and Instruction at Columbia University's Teachers College will provide me with the theoretical knowledge and practical experience to transform educational spaces for vulnerable populations, specifically Black youth. When this applicant sent me their first draft of their statement of purpose, it did not look like the one that we're going to read today. It was actually all over the place. It wasn't focused. And so my number one tip is that I want you to select a theme or what I call a niche that is going to help you construct your whole statement of purpose. So you don't want to tell your whole life story in your statement of purpose. What you want to do instead is focus on one specific area in your field and make sure every paragraph somehow ties to that. And you can do this in two ways. You can start off with a broader theme. So for example, this applicant here is interested in emotional and cognitive development. That's pretty broad. So as a reader, I know that the whole statement of purpose is going to be about emotional and cognitive development, but I want to know specifically what in that area she wants to target. So we learn a little bit about who she wants to target. We know that she wants to work with 17 to 27-year-olds with her own company. And then we also know that she wants to adapt her curriculum for her company into the school setting, in this case, the 6th through 12th grade level. And so that's pretty targeted. So when you're writing your statement of purpose, you want to make sure that you have a target population and that you mention that target population in your statement of purpose. I know that a lot of us that are in the education field want to provide services and access to every student, but the reality is that you're not going to be able to do that through your services. It's very complex and hard. And so what programs like these Ivy League schools are looking for is how are you going to make an impact in your field, in your community, and that's going to require you to make sure you're targeted and specific throughout your statement of purpose. Something else that I advised this applicant to do is I told her that she needed to be specific, right? So as you can tell, this paragraph is very specific. She talks about childhood trauma, physical and emotional abandonment, and then she sneaks in their foster care. And that's really good because later on in the statement of purpose, she's gonna allude or return back to the foster care reasoning. So throughout the statement of purpose, you want to explain why these things matter to you, why you want to impact this certain community, and how you're gonna do that. She also mentions that she's specifically interested in Black youth. So as a reader, I'm expecting her to talk about why she's specifically interested in Black youth later on in the statement of purpose. So the whole purpose of your introduction is to provide the readers with a brief outline of what the rest of your statement of purpose is going to be about. And so in here, you want to mention what is your career goal? Well, who is your target population? Who do you want to impact? As well as what the program can do for you to reach those goals. Later on in the statement of purpose, you're going to dedicate a paragraph to describing each one of these components. As a child, I grew up in nurtured, starved, abusive environments. By age 4, I was abandoned by both parents, removed from my grandparents' home, and placed into the foster care system. Thankfully, my experience in foster care was positive. After leaving home at age 17, I struggled with self-identity, describing and regulating my feelings and emotions. I failed to create healthy attachments and found it difficult to get a sense of self-empowerment and belonging in relationships. 13 years later, I enrolled in the Inner Visions Institute for Spiritual Development that taught me how to transform transform my thinking and emotional landscape through experiential home assignments, large group sharings, breath work and meditation, and self-development tools and principles, and cognitive and emotional healing work. Through these experiences, I realized that social emotional learning was not taught at my school nor at home. Thus, I want to develop and implement culturally sensitive educational curriculum in public schooling so that foster care students and students who have experienced abandonment can learn how to better navigate their traumas. So this paragraph is what I call the personal statement paragraph. So I do want you to distinguish between a statement of purpose and personal statement. So when you're applying to graduate school, you are writing a statement of purpose, which is a more professional letter to the committee that describes why you want to go to the graduate program. A personal statement, on the other hand, is really what you read in the words, right? Personal. It means they want to learn more about who you are, your background, your ethnicity, your upbringing, and how that led to your pursuit of a graduate degree. So when you are writing your statement of purpose, if you have a story that closely relates to your theme, write about it. So this applicant right here talks about their experience as a foster care youth. And as you can tell, they don't spend a lot of time describing all their traumas, right? They spend maybe a sentence describing, what happened within that traumatic experience of them being taken away from their families, but then they say that their experience was positive. Then they lead into describing what were the gaps in their learning about emotional development, right? And so they describe how they joined this institute called the Inner Visions Institute that taught them how to engage and think about their traumas that they face as foster youth. And they use that information to relate it to why they want to pursue a graduate degree. So at the end, they say that they identified gaps in maybe the literature or their experiences in schooling, right? So they say that schools do not provide social emotional learning, and here's what they want to do because of that. So they want to design culturally responsive curriculum that teaches social emotional learning in schools. That way it improves access to foster care youth at the public school level. And so she wants to use her graduate degree at Columbia University to design that curriculum. So as you can tell, the applicant is not only telling their story, but they're also making connections to why they want to pursue a degree at Columbia University. And I want you to do the exact same thing when you are writing your statement of purpose. As an undergraduate student at Harvard Extension School, I explored the effects of systemic discrimination in mental health care and its effects on Black Americans. Under the mentorship of Professor Dante Spetter from the Department of Research and Behavioral Science, I analyzed interdisciplinary literature in the fields of psychology, history, political science, sociology, and health to identify key systemic discrimination practices in mental health care suffered by Black Americans. I discovered that physicians attribute a deficiency of education about racism to a gap in curriculum during medical school, thus creating a lack of culturally competent professionals. Consequently, Black Americans are left to suffer with untreated race-related trauma. These deficiencies and gaps in medical education also exist in public schooling. Literature states that roughly 1.7 million students attend schools without properly trained counselors, leaving their mental and emotional needs ignored and unmet. Therefore, I plan to design social emotional learning curriculum that can be used by school counselors. So this paragraph is what I call the research experience paragraph. So this applicant attended Harvard Extension School and they conducted research. So as you can tell, right away they jump into the research project. They talked about who was their mentor, so Professor Dante Spetter, and what was the department that mentor was a part of, right? And so what I want you to do in your statement of purpose, I want you to mention your professor that you were mentored by and either their institute, their lab, the name of their department, wherever that you conducted the work, right? And the reason why is because when readers are reading the statement of purpose, they might know these professors or these experts in the field, and so that gives you credibility of your project, right? It gives you more credibility of what you did and the training that you're getting from this research mentor. So make sure you write in the lab, the mentor. And then I want you to describe your research very quickly. Don't take too long. Don't use specific words that only apply to your field, because you want to make sure that the reader understands what you're saying. So as you can tell, this person stated the purpose of their project. So the purpose was to do an interdisciplinary literature analysis on the systemic discrimination practices in mental health care suffered by Black Americans. And if you recall earlier in the introduction, she mentioned Black youth as as part of her target population. And here she's backing up why it's important to target the Black community, right? And so this research experience describes the gaps in the literature, the need for better healthcare for Black Americans, Black youth, the African American Black community, right? So she again is tying in this experience with the intro that she wrote. And then at the end of the paragraph, she describes why this matters, why. So based on this experience, here's what she wants to do at the graduate level. She wants to design social emotional learning that school counselors could use. And so when you are writing your statement of purpose, I want you to describe in one sentence and no more than two how that experience has led you to graduate school. In 2017, I registered my nonprofit Because I Matter, BIM, as an LLC with the mission to educate emerging adults who have experienced relational childhood trauma, physical and or emotional abandonment, and the negative effects of systemic foster care. Currently, BIM is in the design phase, and as a graduate student, I plan to design its curriculum. My goal is to cultivate safe spaces for students to share and explore their thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and emotions which have attached themselves to fear, identity, worth, value, and belonging. The curriculum at BIM will include modalities such as circling, creative writing, storytelling, music, dance, and art therapies. Overall, the goal is for students to be equipped with the skills and tools to identify, regulate, and express feelings and emotions in a constructive way within themselves and relationally. Curriculum design is the core foundation of manifesting my vision for BIM. The knowledge I am seeking is to learn how to design a curriculum that will catalyze student learning and bridge the systemic gaps in schooling between standard physical health curriculum and social and emotional health. I want to learn this at Columbia University's Teachers College. So this particular program this applicant applied to actually required the people that get accepted to work on a project. So because she already has her own company, she wants to build that company, right? And so here she's specific in terms of what she's gonna do when she gets to the project building part of the curriculum of the program at Teachers College. And so she describes how she specifically wants to focus on curriculum, and she describes what type of curriculum she wants to build as a graduate student, as a master's student in the Teachers College program at Columbia University. So if your program either requires you to create some type of project or a thesis, whatever it is, this paragraph is where you're going to be describing that. If you're applying to PhD programs, for example, this paragraph should be a small little synopsis of what your dissertation might look like. In this case, it's a project-based program, and so she's describing what her potential project is going to look like and what she's going to be working on as a graduate student. And as you can tell, she was very specific, right? So she talks about how she's going to work on modalities on circling, creative writing, storytelling, music, dance, and art therapies. This gives an idea to the committee that she has a plan in mind, and she's not going to just waste her time thinking about what to do when she's there. At the graduate level, the committees don't want to accept students who don't know what they're doing or don't have a initial plan, right? They understand that this plan might change as you take courses, as you engage in conversations, etc. But they want you to come in with an idea that you can run with, because they don't want you to waste your time. A lot of these Ivy League programs are 9 months to 12 months in length in terms of the year, right? So you graduate in 1 year, and that's pretty fast. So they want to make sure that when you start school, that you have a plan in mind that you can start working on day one when you get accepted. I am excited to work under the mentorship of Professor Lamaris Caraballo, whose work with youth and education programs complements my interests. Her work with Ciphers for Justice will help me learn how to create effective research-driven curriculum and pedagogy. Moreover, Professor Stephanie Dawn McCall's scholarship that focuses on curriculum theory and design will help me inform the curriculum I plan to design for my nonprofit organization Because I Matter. Her extensive expertise on the integration of teacher theory to practice will provide me with the foundational knowledge I plan to incorporate within my organization and its expansion into the K-12 sector. Finally, I am intrigued at the opportunity to work as a graduate student researcher with Integrative Project. In my aim to incorporate social and emotional learning curriculum into the K-12 sector, I would utilize this project to design a social and emotional curriculum for public schooling grades 6 through 12, along with establishing a business plan to begin integrating this curriculum into public schools as a health class requirement. Initially, I would begin proposing to local area schools with the plan of expanding into other states. Courses such as designing curriculum and instruction, the young children and social policy issues and problems, and curriculum and teacher policy will prepare me with the knowledge and skills to create transformative change and impact the lives of marginalized and underrepresented students. The Columbia University Masters in Curriculum and Instruction program is the ideal institution to help me achieve my graduate and career goals. Thank you for considering my application application. Alright, so these last two paragraphs are what I call the why this program, why this institution paragraph. Normally it is one paragraph, no more than two. In this case, because there was a word count and a page count, which was 3 double-spaced pages, this applicant fused these together to just kind of leave a long-lasting impression of why she should be accepted into this program. And so as you can tell, she was very specific. One thing I do recommend, even if you're not doing a research-based master's or PhD, is that you mention faculty whose research closely matches yours. When you're at the graduate level, you want to have a professor or faculty that's going to help you build on those skills that you have gaps in, right? So you want to make sure that you identify at least one person who can either serve as an advisor overall that helps you choose classes, or someone who can help you build your business up, or who can help you build research projects. So this applicant mentioned 2 professors, and they first describe what their expertise is and how that expertise can help them with their career goals, right? And so I want you to do the same thing when you're applying to graduate school. When you're writing your statement of purpose, mention 2 to 3 faculty whose research matches yours or whose interest matches yours, and describe how that expertise, that research knowledge is going to help you build your skills and knowledge in your field. Then if you have space, I also want you to mention 2 to 3 courses that are going to help you build those gaps in your knowledge. So throughout your statement of purpose, you have been describing where your gaps in knowledge and skills are. And in this piece of the statement of purpose, you want to identify how this program's resources can help you fill those gaps. And so one way to do that is by describing courses, by describing, internships, extracurricular involvements, other, institutes campus-wide. So you want to identify a plan. You want to give the committee a plan of what you plan to do when you get there on day one. What are you going to get involved in? What is going to be your course curriculum that you're going to be taking? And how are those opportunities going to help shape you as a student, as a scholar? And ultimately, how is it going to help you reach your career goals that you identified in the introduction of your statement of purpose? Typically, you would add a concluding paragraph that will leave a long-lasting impression to the committee. And in that concluding paragraph, you want to reiterate your career goals, your mission, your vision, your niche, who you want to target, your target population, and you want to make sure that you leave a long-lasting impression that the committee won't forget. So make sure that you describe the impact you want to make in people's lives, communities, in research, etc. in that concluding paragraph. If there's a word count or page limit like this applicant's application, then you want to just briefly describe that in either a sentence at the end of the statement of purpose. Alright, so that concludes my video on reading the successful statement of purpose for Columbia University's Teachers College. If you have any questions, please leave those down below in the comment section. And as a reminder, I do offer a statement of purpose review service on the freelance platform called Fiverr, which is linked down below. If you need support, I will gladly do that. Obviously, I do offer the service for a fee, but I'm looking forward to working with you, and I'm looking forward to crafting a strong statement of purpose just like this one. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.